Hi, guys. Is my mic on? Oh, there it is. Good morning, everyone. As you guys might notice, I have a little bit of an accent, and it's not from the south. I'm actually from Azerbaijan. How many of you guys have ever heard of Azerbaijan? Oh my God, somebody actually has. It's actually used to be part of Soviet Union. Now it's independent, its own country. So I moved to America when I was 9 years old, but my accent's here to stay, so I apologize. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about how to increase your leads without spending a penny more on marketing. So a little bit about me. Why should anybody pay attention to what I'm about to say? So I've been doing marketing for 19 years. And I've always worked outside of automotive. I worked at a Microsoft, Capital One, ING Direct, House Values, which got acquired by Zillow. And every company who's ever hired me, the reason why they always hired me is because my specialty, my expertise is customer acquisition. What is customer acquisition? Is basically how do we help business actually acquire more customers, whether it's through generate a lead and pass it to a salesperson to convert, or how do we get somebody to actually buy product online, like digital retail right now. So I've done everything from paid media, of course, I've spent $35 million marketing budgets at Microsoft just for one product, one segment, $17 million in Capital One. We've done TV commercials, done radio ads, done SEO, SEM, email marketing, direct mails. Like if marketing channel existed, I've done it. So, and one of my also specialties is also, of course, analytics and tracking and things like that. So one of the case studies I want to show you guys when I was first hired at Microsoft, my job was to how do we acquire 320,000 subscribers at maximum $60 cost per acquisition for Office 365. That year, I actually ended with 530,000 subscribers at $47 cost per acquisition. The way we're able to achieve that is through doing a lot of landing page testing, a lot of website optimization. So the things that I've learned working for all these other companies outside of automotive, when I applied it to automotive, the results were pretty astonishing. The numbers are so high that they're almost unbelievable. Like people have told me, like those numbers don't even look realistic. Like 530% more leads, that's not possible. So I'm going to share with you guys some of the best practices and what we've learned. So whenever we talk to dealerships, they want more leads, but not just any kind of leads. They want leads that actually convert, 10%, 9%, 8%, the leads you generate from your website, instead of like third-party marketplace websites like CarGurus and AutoTrader, because on CarGurus and AutoTrader, you're a commodity. You're just competing based on price. There's nothing, to set you guys apart, why buy from your dealership, why you? So here's a challenge, and you guys might have actually heard of this statistics, that 78% of consumers do their research online before actually visiting a dealership. So basically 78% of all the decisions are made online before a consumer actually calls a dealership or visits a dealership. So you guys all know that internet is important. You need to have a good online presence. Here's the interesting trend that I noticed. In 2019, for the first time, mobile traffic surpassed desktop. So when we look across all industries, 54% of our internet traffic is mobile, and only about 46% is desktop. In automotive, that percentage is like 70%, actually more than 70%. So it depends on, like, if, for example, if you guys are doing Facebook advertisement, who advertises on Facebook? Raise your hands. Okay. Or even if you don't spend money on advertising on Facebook, who does, has a Facebook page, like a, dealership Facebook page? Okay, so 94% of Facebook traffic is all mobile. Facebook is a publicly traded company, so all of this information is public information. So Instagram, until recently, I think about a month ago, Instagram was all 100% mobile. So if you're advertising on Facebook, on Instagram, or if let's say you do local search, Google, like Google My Business, that's also all pretty much mobile. So what does that mean? If you guys want to generate more leads, you really have to think about mobile user experience. Because if people are actually clicking on your ads when they're on a mobile device, they're coming to your dealership website on a mobile device. So what is the experience when somebody actually comes to your dealership website on a mobile device? One of the things about Google Ads, who advertises on Google? Raise your hands. Okay, I hope everybody's advertising on Google. So if you're advertising on Google, as you guys probably know, you're bidding on a cost per click, right? So it depends on the keywords. You might be willing to bid on $3, $5, $9, whatever it is. So Google has this metric called the quality score. What quality score is, how many of you guys have heard of a quality score? Okay, so quality score is basically Google cares, Google is #1 search engine. The way they became #1 search engine is because they give you the most relevant results. The most relevant results is not just do you have the information, but also what is the experience. When somebody comes to your website, are they actually staying on your website or are they bouncing? So what Google does is, even though you're bidding on a cost per click, if let's say, for example, people are clicking your ads, but then they're bouncing, they're leaving your website, Google thinks you're not relevant. When they think that you're not relevant, it penalizes you by giving you lower quality score. The lower the quality score, the more you pay on the cost per click. So even if you are willing to actually spend more on the cost per click, saying like, I really want to show up first position for this keyword, you're going to be paying a penalty. And the penalty could go up as 600%, from 75% to 600% more on the cost per click. Versus if you actually have a good quality score, Google actually rewards you by giving you a discount on the cost per click. So what does that mean? Let's say you have a $3,000 Google Ads budget. If let's say you're bidding on a keyword that costs $5.32 and your quality score is 10, so you got a 30% discount. So you're paying $4.26 for cost per click. But if your quality score is, let's say, 1, drastic scenario, you're paying a penalty of 600%. So that means for the exact same click, in order for you to show up in this first position, you'll be paying up to $37 in the cost per click. So if you have a $3,000 budget to spend, the higher the quality score, the more clicks you get to your website because you're not paying as much in the cost per click. So that's one way to actually, well, if you want to generate more leads and if you want to get spend the same amount of money or less, quality score is a really important KPI for you guys to look at. So who heard that Google just recently switched, in March, they just switched to mobile first indexing. How many of you guys familiar with mobile first indexing? Okay. So what mobile first indexing means is Google knows because majority of the internet traffic is now all mobile, what Google is doing is they actually switch their Google bots, the ones that are crawling through the websites and deciding how to rank dealership websites, is they're using only a mobile version of the content. So Google doesn't even use desktop content. They only pay attention to mobile version of your website to decide how they should actually rank your dealership website. So if majority of the internet traffic or majority of the social media traffic is mobile, if Google penalizes you for, when you're doing Google Ads, penalizes you with a lower quality score and a higher cost per click if you have a high bounce rates, and if Google only uses mobile version of your website to rank your dealership organically, mobile is the most important thing. So, this is one of my favorite cartoons. How the heck am I supposed to grow your brand with so little water next year? Good luck, maybe get a cactus. Or continue banging your head on the wall. Okay, so we're going to talk about what is the difference between a mobile first versus mobile responsive website. How many of you guys ever heard of a mobile first website? Okay, a few people in the back because they already know this. Okay, so what mobile first means is the UX UI designer, the user experience designer who started designing car shopping experience, they first designed a car shopping experience on the most difficult device first, which is mobile. The reason why it's difficult is because you have the most amount of limitations. You have a smaller screen size, you have slower internet speed. A person's actually typing with one finger instead of on a keyboard with 2 hands, 10 fingers. So when you're designing for a car shopping experience on mobile, you really have to think about the mobile user context. In a given moment, at a given time, what would be the most important useful features that would help enhance the shopping experience for a user on a mobile device? Mobile responsive website is literally the opposite. It's basically desktop first. You're starting to design for a desktop computer, and then the website is actually responsive to mobile, meaning like it's accessible on mobile, but it wasn't designed with the mobile user in mind. So basically, when you're designing a mobile responsive website, you're designing a website with all kinds of complexities. You have a much bigger screen size, your internet is faster and everything else. So then, even though the website is accessible on a mobile device, it actually wasn't designed for mobile. So let's look at some side-by-side examples. Actually, first, I love this kind of an analogy. Some people hate this analogy. But a mobile responsive website is basically think of like taking a jar and you putting pebbles in it. Even though, sure, you could fit some pebbles, but as you can see, there's lots of holes, there's lots of gaps, like it doesn't fit perfectly. That's a mobile responsive website. Versus a mobile first website, it's like even if you take the most weird, awkward looking shape of a vase, you could actually put a stand and everything is just perfectly fits. It's just designed specifically for that vase. That's pretty much like concept of mobile first versus mobile responsive. So mobile first websites are not new. They've been around for 15 plus years. Zillow is actually one of the companies. I used to work for House Values, which became publicly traded, then it got acquired by Zillow. And so when Zillow started 15 plus years ago, they're a multi-billion-dollar company. From day one, they said mobile is the future, we're going to be mobile first. So how do you know that Zillow is a mobile first website? By the way, how many of you guys heard of Zillow? Everybody's heard of Zillow, okay, got it. So if you're in a search results page on the desktop, you will see a map on the, what side is this? On the left-hand side and the listings on the right-hand side. When you go to mobile screen, if this was just a mobile responsive site, you would have first saw the map, and then if you scroll down, you would have saw the home listings. But instead, when you go to mobile, there's a little icon that says map. And when you click on the map, then it flips and it shows you the map. So responsive would have been like, you just take the desktop version and the responsive accessible, things move around, but it wasn't really thinking about a mobile user context. So let's look at the automotive side-by-side examples. So here's two dealership websites. One is on a mobile responsive website. Where is it? My left-hand side is mobile responsive. On the right side, it's mobile first website. So first, look at the top navigation. You see where there's like a phone number, the address, the menu. Basically, almost half the mobile screen is taken up with just the top navigation. This is a perfect example where the website is designed for a desktop and everything is response to mobile, but it wasn't really, the UX UI designer wasn't really thinking about, well, how do we conserve space? Because you have a smaller screen size, it's really important to conserve spaces. So it's not about eliminating information, because with mobile first, you have to have the same information, same content, same features as on desktop. It's about how do you design it. In contrast, like if you look at the mobile first website, you see how there's like a click to call and click to drive? Because guess what? If you're on a mobile screen, you don't need to know like the numbers 317, 456. It's not like you're going to be sitting there going between screens and entering. You just want to click and call or click and drive. So and that's one example. The other example, do you guys see there's this little image right after view inventory, apply for finance, sell your car, and then there's a little image right there. Can you guys see it? So that image was designed for a desktop. It's basically a banner. I see dealerships all the time creating all these fancy banners, talking about their Thanksgiving promotions, what is it called, tax, campaigns, whatever. But those banners are designed for a desktop, so they're JPEG or PNG. It's a flat file. And then when you shrink it down to a mobile, you could see it's there, but you can't read anything because it's shrunk down. So that's a perfect example again of the banner was built for a mobile responsive website. A mobile first website instead, do you see where it says the only lifetime powertrain warranty in Baltimore? That's an HTML5 banner. HTML5 means it's built on code. It's not taking any kind of images and shrinking down, but it's actually built on code. So when you're writing code, and you could say, hey, this headline needs to be font size 16 pixels. Well, when you shrink down to mobile, it's still 16 pixels. It's still readable. But if it's a JPEG or a PNG, maybe it was designed 16 pixels, but when you shrink down the image, now it's like two font size 2, so you can't even see anything. Okay, so that's, whoopsie. Am I going backwards? I think I'm going backwards. Okay, there you go. So the most frequently question I get is, okay, well, if the website is mobile first, does that mean I need to get a second website for my desktop? And the answer is no. Mobile first means it's designed for mobile, but it looks great on desktop too. And quite frankly, I don't really pay attention to desktop because desktop is table stakes. I mean, like, who doesn't design a good website for a desktop? Like, you have a limited amount of screen size. Like, if you can't design a good website for a desktop, you shouldn't be a UX designer. So let's look at the most important pages. Inventory. This is actually what helps you guys sell cars. So as you guys could see on the Legend Auto Sales example, it's slightly better than the previous example because at least this time they're actually not showing the address or the phone number. They actually have a click to call and click to drive. But still, look how much space is wasted on the top navigation. That's like 1/4 of a mobile screen size, again, is used up. I mean, the mobile space is so limited, don't waste any pixels, consolidate things. And then, do you see there's a KBB, Kelly Blue Book banner right after the click to call? So I see this very often. It's very frustrating because as a user, as a consumer, if you landed on a search results page, You're looking for inventory. You didn't click on trade and banner. You didn't click anything. You clicked on see inventory. So why are we taking people away from the inventory page to another page? Let them see the inventory. So, oh, actually, let me go back here. Oopsie. I think I need to learn how to use this mouse. Okay, so with mobile first, you could still actually have banners, but similar to like Carvana or Room, you could put banners between the cars. So don't just put it on the top where it's pushing your inventory down. You could put banners, but put it between the cars and cross-sell and upsell relevant messages. Okay, let me see if I'm going back the right way. Okay, nope, wrong way. Damn it. Sorry, guys. Okay, so here's another example of a mobile first versus mobile responsive. You see where it says available inventory, refine search, and sort by? Look how humongous those buttons are. Now, go to Macy's, Best Buy, Home Depot, Amazon, any other e-commerce giant website. You will never see a refined search button take up that much space. In contrast, if you look at the exclusive Motors website, mobile first website, you see how the filter is just a small little link. Or, sort by is just, a little sort icon. So with mobile first websites, it's not like you're missing functionality. It's just the designer clearly was thinking about a mobile user and designing things versus designing for a desktop and a response to mobile, but it wasn't designed for mobile. So you're not wasting another, like with the Legend Auto Sales, look, half the screen is taken up with just your logo, with another banner, with the refined search, like all of the information is preventing a person to actually see the inventory. So then, here's another crazy thing that I always see in the automotive world. Buttons on a search results page. Whoever started a really ugly rumor many years ago to add buttons to search results page, it's a lie. Buttons on a search results page do not increase conversion rates. If that was actually true, then Carvana, CarMax, Amazon would be doing it. None of those websites have buttons on a search results page. And I actually had a lot of debates with a lot of dealerships that I work with. Lyamen, you gotta add buttons. It's gonna help us get more leads. So I did a test. And you probably can't see it, but I could email this to you guys. It's an email from one of my customers, one of my dealerships, who says, Lyamen, you win, remove the button so I'll never bring it up again. I don't know why we add buttons to a search results page. So in the UX UI best practices, every page needs to have a purpose. The purpose of a search results page is to intrigue consumer about your vehicle. The purpose of a vehicle detail page is to educate and close, meaning like tell them more about the car, and then ask for the sale, ask for the close. And the close could be schedule a test drive or buy online or apply for a loan. So, but you don't do all of that on the search results page. If you're doing that on the search results page, now what's the point of a vehicle detail page? Don't even have a vehicle detail page. Think about redundant elements in your website. Okay, vehicle detail page, another one of my favorite topics. Okay, so now somebody's on the vehicle detail page. Time to close them. So when somebody comes to a dealership website, there's a sequence of thought. The sequence of thought is, do I want this car? Can I afford this car? How do I buy this car? So if you think about those, the sequence of thought for somebody who's coming to a dealership website, well, how do you actually get them to actually convert? So as you could see on the mobile responsive website, even the navigation sticking up 1/4 of a screen. But then as you're looking at the car, you actually don't even see calls to action. You don't see the price. You don't see a monthly payment. Not until you actually really scroll down, and then you see right over there, legend price, whatever the price number is. I can't see it. Versus if you look at the mobile first, as soon as they land on the mobile first website, they see the photos, and you see because the top navigation is only taking up like 1/10 of a screen size, you actually were able to put more information, more content above the fold. So user immediately sees a price, they see a monthly payment, and immediately they see primary call to action, whatever the primary call to action might be, and then secondary. Versus on mobile responsive, you have to keep scrolling down. What's more interesting to me is whenever I see a mobile responsive website, I'll usually see icons that are not relevant for mobile. For example, who has ever seen on a dealership website a print icon on a mobile device? You can't print anything on mobile. Why is there a print icon? Or, my favorite part, you guys can probably see it, but right there it says email or send to phone. You don't need those buttons because every phone has this little share icon, and when you click on the little share icon in the browser, you could actually forward to email or a phone. So you could actually conserve a lot of space removing those buttons that are completely irrelevant for a mobile user. Okay, well there it is. I have a screenshot of that. Okay, here's another crazy case study or best practice. How many of you guys have more than 3 buttons on your vehicle detail page? Raise your hand. I know all of you guys have more than 3 buttons on your vehicle detail page because dealers are really notorious for that. So the best practice in the UX UI is a product detail page, vehicle detail page, should not have more than 2 or 3 buttons at most. If you look at the Amazon, there's only 2 buttons, add to cart and buy now. Everything else is a hyperlink. From a user experience, they need to know what's a primary call to action, what's a secondary, what's the hierarchy. So when you put 10, 9, 8 buttons, then everything is important. When everything is important, nothing is important. So the Legend Auto Sales, 9 buttons versus Exclusive Motors 3 and Amazon 2. The only reason why Exclusive Motors has 3 buttons because Amazon is only online versus Exclusive Motors is online and offline. So they have a button that says Unlock Manager Special, which is the primary call to action. It's a bright, brighter color, and then 2 other buttons are secondary calls to action, and everything else is a hyperlink. Okay, so when I worked at Microsoft, I worked really closely with the market research team, and they gave me this study from Jumpstart Automotive Media. And I wish you could actually see it a little bit better here. But basically, in the Jumpstart Automotive Media, they asked consumers and dealers, what influences your decision selecting a dealership? Dealership said, 48% dealership reputation, 41% said prior positive experience, and 30% said salesperson reputation. Consumers said, guess what consumers think influences their decision? 36% said lowest overall price, 35% vehicle inventory, and 29% said customer service. So basically, do you have a car I want? Can I afford the car? And then how do I buy the car? What's more fascinating is then they asked them for a follow-up question. Well, how do you compare prices? And so the options were monthly payment, total cost of ownership, or purchase price and MSRP. Monthly payment was the #1 way how people compare prices. So it's not even about, maybe your car is maybe $500 more than another competitor or $1,000 more, but can they afford the car? Especially with women. Can my family afford this car? So how many of you guys have show a monthly payment on your website next to your price? Raise your hand. Okay, 1. Anybody else? Just 1? So have you guys noticed that, probably guys haven't, girls, you guys probably noticed when you're shopping in a now, retail clothing stores, how many of you guys have noticed they're now all showing a monthly payment, even like if you're buying a dress or something like that? Like monthly payment is the best way to increase your gross profit, because as long as you could show to a consumer, hey, you maybe had a budget of $20,000, but the car you really want is $25,000, but in terms of a monthly payment, maybe it's only $100 more, maybe it's $75 more, depends on your credit score and things like that. You could afford this car. You don't have to discount cars. You could, as long as you could show to somebody, and you guys know this because you guys do financing, as long as you could show somebody they could afford a car, that's the best way and the easiest way to actually increase your gross profit. Okay, credit applications. So credit applications, I would probably consider they're probably the most qualified leads, right? Because those are people who are actually not only already found the car, the one asking you, hey, can I get a better price? Those are people who are saying, I want to apply for a car loan. What can I get approved for? How many of you guys have on your website a credit application that looks like something like Gravity Auto Payments, where it's an iframe? How many of you guys know what an iframe is? Okay, so an iframe is basically a website inside of a website. So one of the challenges in automotive is that none of the CRMs have API integration, which is crazy to me, because outside of automotive, every CRM has API integration. But the only way right now to pass leads to CRM is through ADF XML process, which is not a secure way to pass a credit application. So because of that, all these website providers, what they're doing is they're taking these third-party pages, like for example, Vin Solutions has, apply online form, 700 credit, and all of them, and they're basically sticking it into the website. So it's a website inside of a website. Not only does that already look really bad on desktop, but on the mobile, it's even 10 times worse. Because you don't have a lot of screen size, so you imagine trying to fit 2 websites inside of each other on a mobile screen. And not only that, but look how much space is taken up where it says, finance application, get pre-approved now. Versus if you look at the Exclusive Motors, you see how you could actually fit more content and to communicate why apply with this dealership, instead of going and getting your own car loan through your bank with Bank of America, whoever. So by using API integrations to do credit applications, you could actually have more control and provide a better experience and generate more leads. So here's the thing. You know how I said somebody's actually trying to complete an action with one finger? Credit applications ask a lot of questions, because you guys need a lot of questions. You know, what's your income? What's your address? How long you've been here? Like, that's a lot of questions. And we know that the shorter the form, the more likely somebody to complete it. Well, how do you make it easy for somebody to complete it? You use mobile native features to enhance the car shopping experience. So as an example, when a user is putting in an address, instead of forcing them to put in a street, city, state, zip, one by one, Google Maps integration. As soon as a user starts typing address, it starts giving them a hint and saying, like, is this one of your addresses? And all they have to do is click, and it pre-populates everything. Things like that go a long way of helping somebody, you know, complete an action. Or, for example, keypad changing. So if somebody clicks on a zip code or monthly income or anything that's a numeric, instead of showing them an alphabet keypad, show them numeric keypad. Or let's say, for example, on credit applications, you need to collect a lot of information, like, do you have a co-buyer? Does the co-buyer live in the same address as you do? Well, show first as little or as fewer questions as possible, and then depends on how consumers answering those questions, either subtract the fields or add the fields. So basically, don't waste consumers' time trying to read through a whole application. One of the things in marketing I always pay attention to is anxiety. People have anxiety when they see long forms, especially with monthly payments, they have an anxiety, can I afford this? So at any time, when you're looking at your dealership website, think about, how do we reduce anxiety? How do we get rid of friction? And, you know, short of forms is actually one way to do it. So the credit application that we designed actually has a 55 to 65% completion rate, which is like unheard of. Like, nobody in automotive has a 55 to 65% completion rate for credit apps. So if you apply all these best practices, it's very easy. Okay, test drives. So how many of you guys have a test drive, schedule a test drive on your website? Okay, 2, 3, okay. So does your test drive look like something where the user has to put in a year, make, model, trim? Again, if you think about somebody's doing that on a mobile device, you want to pre-populate all that information. So if they're in a vehicle detail page, instead of asking them to, hey, what year, make, model, pre-populate that for them. But most importantly, how many of you guys ever been on Redfin website? Redfin real estate website? Okay, if you go to Redfin website, competitor of Zillow, you will see that it says, tour this house. And when you see that button, it says, next available in 30 minutes. Or it says, next available whatever time. That's a way to create urgency. I was once listening to a BDC rep recording, and some customer was calling her saying, hey, I'm on your website right now, I'm looking at this car. And she's like, oh my God, somebody just came in for a test drive. How far away are you from the dealership? He's like, well, I'm about 10 minutes away. He's like, great, can you please come by right now? Like, I mean, she did an amazing job creating urgency. Well, your scheduled test drive could do the exact same thing. So with your developers could actually, you know, they know what time it is right now because somebody's on the computer or on a smartphone. They know what time the dealership opens, they know what time the dealership closes. So you could easily just insert and say, next available appointment, and blink the time. So instead of showing a user, you know, sometimes I'll see like a scheduled test drive and they'll show like a whole month schedule. Don't ever show a whole month schedule. Create urgency. Like, get them into your showroom as soon as possible. Tell them next available appointment, 30 minutes. You know, how quickly can you get there? And then one of my favorite parts is when somebody schedules a test drive, don't ever say thank you. Somebody will be in contact with you. It's like, imagine you're on an open table. You reserve reservations for a restaurant, and then it says, thank you. A host will be in touch with you to confirm reservations. No, I'm like, what? Why? It's like, let them just actually, you know, confirm an appointment. So I actually have a very funny story about this. So one of our dealerships we work with, Autos for Less, Jacob, he's their marketing director, he calls me up and he's like, Lyamen, we got to remove the schedule a test drive from the website. I'm like, what happened? And he's like, well, people are showing up to my showroom, the car is already sold, and the BDC rep never called them to confirm an appointment, so they shouldn't have showed up. I'm like, wait a minute, Jacob. A customer showed up, your rep did not have to actually call them to get them to come to your dealership, and you think that's a bad thing? I'm like, this is a self-serve model. This is exactly what we wanted. You just saved time BDC rep making 3 to 5 calls to actually get them to show up to your showroom. They showed up to the showroom. Maybe you guys need to have a process. What do you do if somebody schedules a test drive for a car you sold, maybe you call them, maybe you don't, maybe when they get there you try to sell them to another car. But the point is they showed up to the dealership without you trying to chase them down. That's a good thing. And then, so instead of just saying, thank you, so one of the rules in marketing is it's a lot easier to get a person to take one more action, and then one more action, then one more action, than getting them to abandon the experience and then trying to get them to come back. So if somebody just scheduled a test drive, and we know that one of the things that consumers are least happy about, or the part they love the least about from buying a car, is how long the F&I process takes. So make it easy for them. Say, save 1 hour at the dealership, apply for a car loan. So by the time they show up to your showroom, you already know what their credit score is, or credit score range is, depends if you're doing soft pull. And then you're already talking to them about the car they could actually afford. So better customer experience and better experience for you guys. So your salespeople are not wasting time giving test drive on a car they can't afford. Okay, trade-in tools. So how many of you guys have a trade-in form on your website? I hope everybody does, because we know there's a shortage of inventory. Everybody needs trade-ins. So again, if somebody's trying to fill out a form with one finger, instead of asking them to type in a year, make, model, trim, blah, 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 how about just let them start typing, and as soon as they start typing, their Mercedes, 2019, whatever, starts giving them hints, like, is it this car? Click, and it pre-populates all that information. So always think about, put yourself in the customer's shoes. If you were the customer, what would help you complete the action? Anytime you could actually do any kind of integrations to pre-populate the information, that's always, expedites or helps the user to complete that action. And the other thing is, when the pandemic started, everybody was talking about digital retail. Digital retail is the hottest thing since, I don't know, like a popular girl in high school. But here's the thing, digital retail is just a checkout button. When somebody is actually, maybe an hour away from your dealership, if you could allow them to upload photos of their vehicle, so you could give them an accurate appraisal on their car without them first coming to your dealership, that's going to make their life so much easier, more likely to actually then drive to your store. Well, the great thing is when somebody's on a smartphone, they could actually take pictures of their car. So does your trade-in tool actually allow them to take pictures of the car and submit it to you? And so mobile first is really thinking about the mobile user context. In a given moment, in a given time, what will be the most helpful to this person to complete a transaction? How do you reduce friction? How do you reduce anxiety? How do you make their life easier? Like think about even with yourself. Like when I shop online, if a company doesn't have Apple Pay, I leave. I'm too lazy to enter my credit card. Just give me Apple Pay. Same thing, when I talk to dealerships, one of the most common problems that I see, dealerships always tell me, I want to increase more leads, but here's my budget, and they think the only way to increase their leads is to spend more on marketing or to spend more on a SEO optimization. The reality is, you guys have plenty of website visitors. Like a lot of dealerships, I look at their Google Analytics all the time. Every dealership has plenty of visitors. The problem is converting those visitors, and the reason why you're having a hard time converting those visitors is because everybody's on mobile, but the websites were designed for desktop. And so if you compare car shopping experience on your guys' website versus Redfin, Zillow, Amazon, Best Buy, Home Depot, like any of those other e-commerce giants, you start noticing the difference. Okay, messaging. Messaging is so important. Very often when I go to dealership websites, I see things like, talks in Premier used car dealership. Well, that doesn't tell me why is it Premier? Why should I care? Why should I buy it from you? What makes your dealership unique and different? So in marketing, I've been doing marketing since I was 21 years old. And one of my favorite formulas is 4U's formula. Has anybody ever heard of 4U's? No? Okay, this is the best formula in the world. So the 4U's is basically, if your headline or even email subject line, go back and look at your guys' BDC emails, email subject line, if it at least meets 3 out of those 4U's, you're probably going to have a pretty good conversion rate. And the 4U's is number 1, ultra specific, number 2, unique, number 3, utilitarian, and number 4, urgent. So basically, what does that mean? Ultra specific. A lot of times when I talk to business owners of any kind, we're so afraid to make the message so personalized because we don't want to eliminate anybody who might not be applicable to. And I always say, when you try to appeal to all, you appeal to none. So the more specific your headline, the more relevant it is to a person who's coming to your dealership website. So as an example, Tucson Premier Used Car Dealership. Is it ultra specific? It kind of is, because it says it's a premier, so if I'm looking for premier used car dealership, it's like, okay, so yeah, it's a little bit, ultra specific. It's in Tucson, I'm in Tucson, so okay, yeah, that's a little bit ultra specific. Unique, is it unique? Nope, there's nothing unique about that headline. If you remove, cactusarizona.com and put any other dealership logo on it, all of them will say the exact same thing, will be true. So that is not a unique headline. Utilitarian, basically, is it information I can use? Well, they said the premier, but why should I believe them? What makes them premier? There's nothing about that headline that makes it useful for me to like, oh yeah, this is actually important for me how I'm choosing a dealership. And then urgent, is there any urgency? Nope, there's no urgency. And by the way, most of the time when I see headlines that are ultra specific and utilitarian and unique, urgency automatically just comes out of that. So in contrast, if we look at the Hansen brand, it says the biggest selection of cars under $300 per month. Is it ultra specific? Yep. Because they told me their target audience, they live in the small part of Texas, population of 4,000, average income bracket, people could only afford maximum $300 per month. Okay, so it's very relevant to people who live in their market. Biggest selection, that's also utilitarian because like, okay, I'm gonna save time. If I go to this dealership, I'm gonna find the most amount of cars under $300 and my maximum budget is $300. So this is utilitarian. It's useful for me to know that. Is it unique? It's unique in automotive because everybody else is saying, welcome to Tucson Premier Used Car Dealerships. So it's like, finally I found a dealership that actually says the biggest selections and now this is becoming unique. And is there urgency? This one's missing urgency, but it's okay, got 3 out of 4. So this has a pretty good chance of actually success. The other thing I often see is, like what you guys see right here, welcome to Legend Auto Sales, and then a huge chunk of copy. So whoever was writing the copy was clearly writing that copy for a desktop, because if you take that amount of copy in a desktop, bigger screen size, it doesn't look as copy heavy or chunky. When you put it in a small screen, all of a sudden this is like, looks like a big huge chunk of copy. Who's ever gonna read that? I mean, like, if you were the consumer on this website, would you ever read that? I don't think anybody would. 1, it's way too much copy. 2, there's a really famous book called Think Fast, Think Slow. And it talks about how our human brains actually processes information. Our brains are lazy. And so what happens is when something is hard to read, our brains slow down and we don't comprehend it. If we pay attention to it, like if I were to really force myself to read the text, yes, I could read it and I could comprehend it. But because my brain is lazy, if I'm just browsing on your website trying to find information, I'm not gonna read it. I'm just gonna completely ignore it. So what happens is, what I see a lot of times is, it's basically keyword stuff copy. So your website starts ranking organically because you have a bunch of keyword stuff, for SEO purposes, but you're not converting the traffic. So again, going back to what I was saying earlier, when I talk to dealerships and they think they have a website traffic problem, they're investing more money in SEO, writing keyword stuff copy, but the problem is actually not that you don't have enough visitors. You're not converting those visitors because your copy, nobody can read it. Instead of communicating why you, what are the reasons to believe, RTB, reason to believe. Why should I buy from you? Why should I believe you're a premier used car dealership in Arizona? So in mobile, the best practice, first of all, don't ever put white text in the black background. That actually immediately reduces comprehension level. There's this school that I went in New York, what is it called? Direct something, I forgot what it's called, but it's a really big school. They specialize in direct response marketing. And they talk about how the only time you should actually have white text in the black background or any kind of background is if it's a headline, then you can. Any kind of a paragraph, don't ever put it in the dark background. It's really hard to read. And the other thing is when it's on mobile, try to separate the text with images or buttons. So that way when somebody is actually coming, you still want to communicate why you, but it's easier to read and digest. And that's the end. Hope you guys found it to be very useful and informative.